So Governor Mikey P, it seems, finally decided what he wants to do with all that unemployment money that he swindled from Missouri workers last year, literally in the middle of a pandemic. Check this out, folks. Governor Mike Parson issues legislative vetoes, calls for special session for permanent tax relief, largest tax cut in state history. The governor himself posting this article from his website and responding with, "We want to provide Missourians with permanent tax cuts for permanent relief, not temporary stimulus." Okay, let's jump into that. So I'll show you just the highlights here of this part. HB 2090, for those who had tax liability in 2021, HB 2090 authorized one-time $500 tax rebates for individual making less than $150,000 per year, and $1,000 rebates for joint filers making less than $300,000 per year. Since the rebates on tax liability would be prorated due to the program being underfunded, no taxpayer would receive the advertised maximum rebate. Many working Missourians, including low-income earners, high-income earners, oh, we've got to take care of those folks, you know, and vulnerable populations were left out of this temporary relief measure entirely. Alternatively, Governor Parson is proposing permanent tax relief for all tax-paying Missourians. As the nation and Missouri face record inflation, historically high gas prices, and rising food costs, Governor Parson wants to provide permanent tax relief that provides yearly savings to Missourians as opposed to a one-time stimulus. Okay, so his concern here, let's just be completely clear. So there's the spin, and now I'm going to give you the truth, which if you watch this show, you already know, yo. You already know, because St. Louis St. Pete already addressed these issues earlier this year when the Congress was still in session. And we discussed it here on this show. Let's take a look.
Or we just run our state into the ground like we've been doing for the last 20 years.
So the other question I have, gentlemen, are we better off giving these individuals $1,000 back a year, or in this one time for a joint household? Are we better off maybe reducing their taxes by almost $1,600 a year?
Well, I would prefer one time while we have a surplus, or my preference is we reinvest it in our state institutions that I just said have been starved for the last 2 decades.
So you just want to spend more money of other people, you just want to spend more of other people's money?
Taxpayer dollars, so our money, collectively, yes.
Collectively. So
each of us in here is a taxpayer as well. And I represent 35,000 taxpayers that would like us to invest their dollars wisely, not give them back to millionaires. Here I am suggesting we give it back to folks.
I understand that, gentlemen. But
if you
we
don't
want
to spend it, let's give it to folks that need it.
But you talk out both sides. You want to give hardworking people a break, but if we were to bring up something about income tax reductions.
As we just talked about, a third of the population doesn't pay income tax. How does an income tax reduction help working class folks? It doesn't. That's the point. You want to get rid of a sales tax on groceries? I'm all in. Let's do that.
So a 1% tax on groceries that's going to save maybe $100, $150 a year.
And this will give them zero.
Giving somebody $1,500
and this will give those same
back.
People zero. $0. That's what this bill, without my amendment, would do. $0 for those people. Zero.
Gentlemen, they didn't put anything into the system.
They paid property taxes, sales taxes. They pay more of their income in sales taxes a year than higher income folks do. That's a fact. Why is your side ignoring that reality?
So the program is underfunded. I wonder which party is responsible for that. Many working Missourians, including low-income earners, vulnerable populations, would be left out entirely. Whose fault is that again? The governor's own party said they would be left out because they don't contribute anyway. Bunch of freeloaders. 33% of Missourians. And so now he's calling for a special session to fix the problem that his own party caused. Give me a break. The governor cares so much about the working poor and the vulnerable. How Mike Parson even has the nerve to say that he cares about the most vulnerable in our state? after this article came out from the Riverfront Times. Missouri governor signs bill into law criminalizing homelessness. Governor Mike Parsons signed a bill into law that will make it a felony to sleep on state-owned land. The bill has drawn wide criticism from unhoused advocates for the way it seems to criminalize homelessness. After one warning, anyone found illegally camping on state-owned land could face a $750 fine or Class C misdemeanor charge punishable by up to 15 days in prison. The law authorizes the state attorney general to sue any municipalities that don't enforce the ban. It further penalizes cities with rates of homelessness higher than the state average by taking away state funding for unhoused services. Boy, that makes any amount of sense at all. Come on, guy. Republican legislators who supported the law insist this will be a good thing. Sound familiar? If it isn't backed by a threat of criminal enforcement, people won't get off the streets. And that is truly the intent of the bill. Representative Bruce DeGroot told RFT in May. Bruce DeGroot, a Chesterfield Republican who sponsored the bill in the House, says this is just a first step for getting Missouri's unhoused off the streets. The unwashed, apparently. Both DeGroot and State Senator Holly Thompson Rader from Scott City Republican have staunchly opposed the Housing First federal model, which prioritizes getting the unhoused into permanent houses without requiring abstinence from drugs and alcohol. You know, because like the best way to get them off the streets is by getting them off the drugs first before you give them the place to be. Come on. Be smarter than that, guys and gal. Long-term housing acts as a cushion for the unhoused, the legislators argue, and doesn't force them to address the root causes of homelessness, such as substance abuse or mental illness. With this in mind, the new law prohibits cities and organizations from using state and federal grants to build permanent housing for the unsheltered. Instead, that money must be directed to build temporary camps. Anyone who wants to use the temporary camps must submit to mental health and substance use evaluations, a direct contradiction to the Housing First model, which stipulates that no one should have to meet requirements to seek shelter. This legislation is so objectively bad to some that the Missouri Independent reports a national organization got involved. On Monday, the National Coalition for Housing Justice sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development asking the department to issue a public statement in opposition to Rader and DeGroot's bill. They warned that Missouri could lose eligibility for millions of dollars in federal housing and homeless grants. The coalition's plea was apparently unsuccessful since Parsons signed House Bill 1606 into law on Wednesday. It takes effect August 28th. I mean, how Mike Parsons wasn't recalled last year is beyond me. Oh, wait, I know exactly why. Because the only people who were fired up enough to have made a difference last year were led by folks who spent most of their time telling their followers what not to say and what not to do, more than doing anything at all. Yes, I'm talking about you, United Across Missouri. This is the fruits of your labor. This is where your unemployment money went to. And now we're left picking up the trash left by the Missouri Republican Party.